My uncle had to pick me up and take me over there early just so I could shower and do laundry so I could be presentable for, the party or whatever. And I remember my mom telling me, why don't you just move back into sober living? And it was like, I'm not sober, right? Moving into sober living was so far off of my radar.
So I usually just have people introduce themselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm Jessica.
She's Jessica with Sandwiches for Love.
I'm Jessica. I'm with Sandwiches with Love.
Yeah, Sandwiches with Love. Sorry about that. Yeah, so talk a little bit about that. Well, first of all, we're in Olympia, Washington, and what are you doing in Olympia?
I'm just out here visiting friends and kind of networking while I'm out here, doing a little bit of work and play at the same time. But I've been coming to Washington for the last maybe like 4 years, just visiting friends out here, and noticed, like how big of a homeless population that there was out here in this area, and just really felt like I wanted to do Sandwiches with Love out here. So,
well, I'm glad that we were able to do a little bit of stuff today. And where is Sandwiches with Love located?
So we're in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and we're just a mobile homeless outreach. What we do is basically just what we did today. We make lunches, we go down into the community and basically just build community with people, just to let people know that they're loved and they're valued, and, we see them.
So how did you get started doing this?
Well, it was just kind of crazy. Like, my son had a bunch of extra socks. He bought new socks, and I knew a girl who was doing homeless outreach in the area, and I called her and said, do you want these socks? And she said, listen, I'm busy. Why don't you go? And I didn't know where to go, so she gave me an area, and I went down there, and I was blown away. I had no idea that we had the amount of people living outside that we did. And I just felt like God showed me something that day. And I couldn't quit thinking about the people that I saw, the images that I saw, and all the things. And so I just asked my friends on Facebook, like, hey, this is what I did today. Does anybody want to help me do this again? And so many people sent me money, and that's how we got started.
That's amazing. So do you have a history of addiction?
I do. I was addicted for over 20 years. This last relapse that I had was after I had had my son, and it was different. It was hard on me. When I lost custody of my son, I got really depressed, and I just felt like I didn't have any reason to even get better. I just reverted back to like an old version of myself. And I was out there for about 2 years before, something changed in me, and just I got clean, and I've stayed clean. So
how'd you get clean?
Well, it was kind of weird. A guy that I knew was living in sober living, and he was like trying to date me, and I thought, what is he doing? Like, I am all strung out. But he kept coming over, and he would take me to the sober living house and let me take a shower and do laundry and eat and stuff like that. And it was like, for the first time in a long time, I felt normal. I was like, oh, I'm human. Like, I was like, I'm still inside of here, because I think I had let my body get so torn down, and just my mental state and stuff, that I didn't even feel like myself anymore. And so that kind of triggered me into getting clean. I was using less and less, and he let me detox over there. And then I ended up like getting a place. And it was at that place that I just woke up one morning and was like, you know what? I feel good today. Like, I don't need to get high. And I didn't. I called my neighbor and gave him all my stuff, and that was it. How
common is it, based on what you've seen with people that use drugs that how common is it for people to just stop one day?
I don't know. With some people, I've heard other stories similar to mine, like they just got to a point in life where they were done. Mm-hmm. And it's just, I don't know. They talk about it in, AA as like a psychic change or something, but I do feel like it's supernatural kind of, because I never was one of those addicts that thought, I'm going to go to rehab tomorrow, or I'm not going to get high. I never was like that. I was getting high constantly, no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter what, I wasn't thinking about not getting high. I don't know what changed in me. And I do think it had a lot to do with my son, just knowing that like I didn't want him to grow up without a mom, you know?
Yeah. So were both of your parents involved in your life growing up?
They were, but I mainly lived in my grandma's, and then I just started staying with like friends and their parents and stuff. So
yeah. So is Sandwiches with Love your main career path? Is that what you're doing for a living?
No, I'm a hairdresser.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been doing hair for about 15 years now.
Okay.
So yeah, that's my career. I only do Sandwiches with Love because I feel like I'm called to do it.
Yeah.
I know what it's like to be in the situations that these people that we help are in and just feel completely invisible and unloved, like nobody cares about you and nobody cares what happens to you. And that's one of the main reasons why I go out into the homeless camps and stuff. I just want to say hi to people, and I've been doing it for like 5 years now, so I have like some pretty good friends out there and stuff. And I mean, I don't know, it makes me feel good just to go out there and make sure somebody else feels good, you know?
Do you remember feeling like people didn't much care
Absolutely.
whether you lived or died when you were out there?
Absolutely. I used to, during the winter, I lived in this apartment without like utilities or anything, and it would get super, super cold. And I can remember like laying in the bed with like all of my covers over me, just like in my little cocoon, you know, like trying to stay warm. And I would think, I'm going to freeze in here. And I wonder how long it would be until somebody even realized that I was gone, because nobody cared.
Do you still have contact with your family?
Mm-hmm.
And how are your relationships with them?
So my mom has custody of my son. He's been living with her for the last probably 8 years. Our relationship is good. My dad passed away in 2020, and our relationship was good then also. And so, yeah, we're on good terms.
And so do you get to see your son now?
Yeah, he's actually staying at my house right now with my dog while I'm out here visiting. Yeah, we're close.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you come to Olympia, you've been doing Sandwiches with Love for the last 5 years. And so talk about, is today the first time that you've went out into an encampment during your visits?
Yeah, the first time I've done it here. I've always just like driven down the highways and seen how big the homeless camps are. And then my friend out here, his roommate, she was working for, was it called Pure Recovery or something
Pure
like
Olympia.
that? Yeah, Pure Olympia. And so I knew a little bit about the programs that they had here in Washington, but I've never really been dialed in with anybody that explained them to me until today. And so I'm super excited to learn about what resources are available out here, because I would love to see some things like that implemented in Oklahoma City, where our resources are so lacking. And so, yeah, this is my first time out here in the camps, and I loved it.
Yeah. Well, I would suggest that, not that you asked for my suggestion, that you proceed with caution, because if you haven't recognized that Washington State has an exponentially growing homeless population, which, if we look at the also robust services that are available, it kind of makes a person question if these services are so wonderful,
if they're working,
then why are we seeing an increased number of homeless people all the time? Why are these encampments growing and becoming more violent? I would argue that the encampment that we visited today was probably one of the nicer, more welcoming encampments that we've visited in the last couple of years. And but yeah, there's definitely always need, right, for love and support.
That's it.
It was absorbed today.
Yes.
Yeah.
People were so happy to see us, and I was telling people, hey, I'm from Oklahoma City. This is what I do out here. I'm just visiting. I just wanted to spread some love, and
yeah,
people were excited.
Yeah.
So
who'd you talk to today? How did it go?
All kinds of people. Talked to all kinds of people out there. Had one lady that was taking me around and introducing me to people, and we were petting on the dogs and going here and going there, and With Sandwiches with Love, I started helping people get into treatment a couple years ago.
Okay.
Because I started noticing that was like the missing link. We were putting people in apartments without any kind of treatment or mental health services, and they were right back on the streets, And so I started helping coordinate treatment for people, and then we started a sober living program to pay for them to move into sober living when they get out of treatment. And so I found that that's like pretty successful, That gives people a way better chance of staying off the streets than not. And so I talked to some people today about, we saw some people getting high out there, and I talked to one guy for maybe like 15 minutes, and then he came back up to me again and he said, listen, I'm ready to get clean. Like, I'm done with this. I'm over it. I don't want to go back to prison, Yeah. And so sometimes I notice just by building that friendship with people, just by going out and giving somebody food, they feel like, wow, he said, I've never been to treatment before. I don't even know how it works. And I was like, yeah. So sometimes just by being out there and loving on somebody, the dialogue starts, and, you never know, that might change his life forever,
Yeah.
So I feel like I was really welcomed out there today.
Yeah, no, it was a very welcoming environment.
Mm-hmm.
And in all of the time that you've been talking to people inside of encampments, have you ever talked to anybody who said that they really like their circumstances?
Nobody likes their circumstances. They might put up with it when they first get out there, but in Oklahoma, we have really deadly winters, okay? And when those storms come through, and we have those Arctic storms come through in the winter, people die outside all the time. And so usually I notice that with the change of seasons really brings about people wanting a change and wanting to escape their environment,
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many of the folks that you have helped, that you've helped get into treatment, come back and want to help you serve?
Oh, lots of them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, lots of people. Like, that's how I got started with Sandwiches with Love, because I didn't know where to go or who was who or what was what. And so just kind of like today, as I started doing it, I started meeting people in the homeless community. They liked me. They were like, hey, this is cool. Can we help you? Hey, we've got some friends over here in this camp, or we know some people over here. Like, hey, can we go with you? And then I've had lots of people that were on the streets volunteer with me. They want to help. And that's what a lot of people say, like, man, when I get on my feet, I want to help you do this. And they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's got to feel really good.
Well, yeah, because it's like creating a community. There's so much of like, oh, that's them, or oh, that's their problem, or like, I'm not like that, or whatever. So it's really important for everybody to realize that we're all the same, and like, you can do this too.
Yeah.
And it give you a purpose.
Do you feel like you have a purpose?
Yeah.
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 Do you think you're going to stop?
No, I'll probably do this forever.
Yeah.
I'll be like the crazy old lady out there.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God, here's
with
crazy Jessica.
Right. Super, super beefed up with your security because all the people that live in those places have your back. Yeah.
I never worry about my safety. I know that my family and my friends and stuff, when I first started doing this, were so nervous for me. Like, don't go down there alone, and don't do this and don't do that. But at this point, everybody down there knows me. Like, one of the guys calls me the lunch lady. Like, he was on the phone with his girlfriend the other day when I drove over there, and he's like, no baby, it's not. No, I'm just talking to the lunch lady, So they all know me down there, and I'm never scared.
Yeah, that's got to feel really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. What if you could leave a message with our viewers, any message, what would it be?
I mean, just love people. I mean, so much healing can be done in the world by just loving people. I mean, they say love your neighbor.
Yeah.
I mean, I really feel like that's the most powerful message, is just to love people, because everybody needs it.
Yeah. How long have you been clean now?
Almost 8 years.
Yeah. And so do you think that the people that you serve inside of those encampments can get to where you are today?
I do. Absolutely, they can.
Yeah.
I've seen people do it. Lots of times people go into treatment, they'll spend 30, 60, 90 days there. We'll move them into sober living. They'll stay in sober living, get a job. I mean, I've seen it happen, you know, I know it can happen. It's just, do they know it can happen? Or do they even know that it's a possibility?
Yeah.
You know, I read somewhere that people experiencing homelessness, after 5 weeks, hopelessness sets in. Mm-hmm. That is not very long.
No. Well, look at the conditions, right? Everything
I know.
that we saw today. I mean, that's hopelessness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so once you're in the state of hopelessness, now you're not even looking for a way out.
Right.
You just accept it.
Yeah.
And you're stuck in it. And I didn't realize, I remember my mom telling me one year, I don't know, we were having a birthday party or something at my aunt and uncle's, and my uncle had to pick me up and take me over there early just so I could shower and do laundry so I could be presentable for, you know, the party or whatever. And I remember my mom telling me, why don't you just move back into sober living? And it was like, I'm not sober, right? Moving into sober living was so far off of my radar. I'm literally trying not to freeze to death tonight in this abandoned apartment that I'm at. You know what I mean? And I didn't realize that there was programs out there that would literally like pay for you to go to rehab and like put you into sober. You know what I mean? If somebody had like, I just didn't even know that there were programs like that available. And it's like cool now because there are programs like that. Like,
do they have that in Oklahoma?
Most of the time people need to go out of state. But we do have some treatment centers in Oklahoma.
Do you guys have 100% abstinence-based housing? Any kind of?
Nothing like that. Our governor stated not that long ago that there will be no transitional housing under his watch. So there's nothing like you guys have here. No little tiny home villages.
We don't have a lot of abstinence-based stuff. There's usually harm reduction here.
Yeah, we don't have any kind of housing at all.
Okay.
Yeah, none.
Yeah. That can be challenging. What about Oxford housing?
Yeah, we do have sober living houses. Yeah. I actually lived in an Oxford house.
Okay.
Yeah. I lived in Oxford house for almost 2 years. And it helped me develop some new patterns to living because I had never lived on my own sober ever. I didn't even know how to do it.
Yeah. And how old were you when you started using?
Like 15.
And did you with family or friends or?
Just with friends.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, started selling drugs and stuff and ended up in prison and just the cycle.
Yeah.
The cycle. It just kept going and kept going and kept going. And it's like, I could quit using drugs for a period of time, but I would start picking up the alcohol.
Yeah.
And then I would be on alcohol. And then next thing I know, I'm at pain management. And now I'm on all these prescription drugs. And I'm like, but I'm sober.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
It was prescribed, right?
Right. And I like really believed that I was, but I wasn't, you know?
What do you take today?
Nothing. Well, I take my psych meds.
Yeah.
Because I'm bipolar. And that was another layer to my problem. I had untreated mental health issues. And I think that's another reason why I've been able to stay sober for this long. Like I'm finally balanced. I don't feel like I need to change the way I feel every day to try to make myself feel normal. It's like I wake up and I feel normal every day.
Yeah.
Sober. It's amazing.
What a blessing.
It's such a blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knew?
Yeah. And people can get to where you are.
Yeah, it doesn't hold me back at all.
Yeah.
And I know there's so much stigma around that. There's so much stigma around taking medication and being diagnosed and all the things, but it was actually a blessing for me.
Yeah.
Because I was never stable before.
Yeah.
I was always trying to get stable. I kept thinking like, well, if I just have this combination of drugs and alcohol, I can like get it together. I'll be balanced. And it turns out I didn't need any of that stuff. I had just totally thrown off my chemistry so bad that it wasn't working anymore,
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jessica. I really appreciate you coming.
Thanks so much for having me out here.
Yeah, I'm really grateful that we were able to spend time together today and that we were both able to get some things done and
I know.
And spread some love.
I know. Thank you. Thank you so much.